Welcome back, everyone. Here we're going to start the episode 3, The Rise of Mauryan Empire. As we know that the last ruler of the Nanda Dynasty is a Dhananand, who known for his formidable army and immense wealth. Yet his rule was deeply resented by his own people due to his oppressive taxation system and harsh governance. In short, his greed and arrogance earned people for a change. His reign was coincided with the invasion of the Alexander. It's true that due to Nan's army's immense strength, Alexander hesitated to advance further into the Magadha. But it also destabilized the northwest part of subcontinent and created a power vacuum. This problem is early detected by a brilliant Brahmin scholar Chanakya. He wanted to address this issue. And if you wanted to watch my Rise of the Magadha, the previous episode, the link is in the description. But he was publicly humiliated and thrown out of the Dhananand's court. This personal insult fueled the intense desire of revenge. So he swore that he will definitely destroy the Nanda dynasty. And here the start of the rise of the Mauryan Empire. Chanakya is a professor of the Takshila University who teaches economics and politics. His famous work Arthashastra is still resonated with the modern economy and the best book on statecraft. He also known as Kautilya and a Vishnugupta. He was a great philosopher, political teacher, jurist, and a royal advisor. Now let's dissect the Chanakya's master plan. Chanakya's strategy isn't about the single big attack. It's more like a chess game where you move forward the different pieces at once. It is the perfect combination of a military campaign, diplomacy, and espionage. It means that it is a multiple prolonged approach which ensured the long term victory instead of the quick one. So, here we're going to dissect his master plan from the finding and mentoring the Chandragupta. Chanakya is a political mastermind, so he definitely recognized the potential in a young man named Chandragupta. He saw the spirit and courage which needed for challenging the empire. Instead of just telling him what to do, he became his life coach and mentor who trained him from fighting to running the kingdom. Chanakya doesn't just tell about power. His lesson doesn't only focus on power. He instilled the discipline, patience, and strategic intelligence, which really helped Chandragupta in the long road ahead. The next step is the initial setback. Chanakya and Chandragupta's first attempt to attack the Dhananand's capital Patliputra failed because a powerful kingdom can't be taken in by a single reckless strike. After this epic failure, they learned the crucial lesson from a surprising source. A mother scolding their child because he burned his fingers while eating a hot kheer. It became the hot kheer analogy. Because they make the same mistake as child. They try to attack the center first instead of securing the outer edges. Mother advises to eat from the cooler edges first became their next master plan. Chanakya instantly grasped the wisdom of the mother's word. This simple story taught them to chip away the nun's power from the outer edges first, leaving the center stronghold at last. This simple story taught them a lesson of patience, strategy, and not biting off more than you can chew. Now let's move to the third part, which is a new strategy, guerrilla warfare, and alliances. Chanakya's new strategy focused on the divide and conquer approach. They start with conquering the border regions and securing the smaller kingdom first, means securing the outer edges. Think of it, Nan's empire like a spider web. You have saw the spider web, right? So instead of attacking the center first, they try to snipping the thread first. His new plan was a masterpiece of strategic patience. Instead of a head on assault on the center, he began to gobbling up the small kingdoms on the outer edges and allow them to build up a powerful army. And this was not just about the winning battles, it was about starving the beast. By conquering the outer edges, they cut off the Nand Empire resources and turned the Dhananand's discontented alliances into their own soldiers. This plan was simple, brutal, and brilliantly effective. Means by conquering the outer edges, center will fall. Now the next part is a strategic alliance. If you are thinking that they are just warriors, then you are wrong. They are also a political predators too. Chanakya and Chandragupta both know the importance of strategic alliances. So instead of fighting every battle alone, they secured a powerful ally, a king Pravartak of a Himalayan region. And it was not just a friendly alliance, it's a pact of vengeance. Chanakya was a master of political chess, so he knows that Parvatak's army was expert at a mountain warfare, which can become a decisive weapon by doubling their army strength. And it makes their army stand toe to toe against the formidable Nun's empire. He also included the former general of Takshila, accomplished student of Chanakya, representative of King Porus of Kakai, and his son Malliketu, and many more. If you carefully analyze his strategy, you can find that this is a brilliant move which gave their army a massive boost. The next part is espionage and a psychological warfare. Chanakya's ruthless games sports were not just the only weapon. His most dangerous tool was a network of spies who expertly used the psychological warfare. He deployed the ghost of the army of spies who not just gathered the intel but also infected the Dharanand court with the paranoia. These agents of chaos didn't just gather the secrets, they planted allies and turned against the Dhananand's most trusted minister against him. By the time Chandragupta and Chanakya's army reached the capital, the empire was already a shell. Its heart was eaten away by a fear and internal betrayal. So Chandragupta's forces systematically cut off the Mughal supply line by disrupting the trade route, preventing the essential goods from reaching the capital, and also causing an economic hardship. This economic blockade further fueled the people's resentment towards the Dhananand. Food became scarce, prices became high, rocket high, and people turned against their own king. Finally, after the years of meticulous planning, relentless campaigning, Chandragupta and his formidable army launched a final assault on the Patliputra. The capital was surrounded. Of course, the Dharanand army was vast, but demoralized by years of internal strife and external pressure. The army fought valiantly, but their spirit was broken and the defense was weakened. In the final assault, Dharanand's army overwhelmed. So he was defeated and his tyrannical reign brought to an end. His dynasty was overthrown. Chandragupta Maurya took full control of the Magadha. He established a Mauryan Empire around 322 BCE, the first unified empire of ancient Bharat. Upon civil unrest in the kingdom, Nand resigned and disappeared into the exile. Chanakya contacted at their time the Prime Minister Rakshas and convinced that his loyalty lies to the Magadha, not with the Nanda Dynasty, so he should remain in the office. He advised him that resisting makes things worse. It can destroy the kingdom. Rakshas accepted Chanakya's reasoning, so Chandragupta Maurya legitimately installed as the new king of the Magadha, just at the age of the 21. Rakshas became his new chief advisor of the Mauryan Empire, and Chanakya assumed the position of the elder statesman. Chandragupta's journey to power is woven with many different assumptions due to a scarce resources of historical records. But the widely accepted story is a Chanakya's master plan. Now let's talk about the reign of the Chandragupta Maurya. And before that, let's explore his early childhood life. There were not sufficient resources which tells about his early childhood life because different sources tell a different story. Like from a Greek to Buddhist to a Hindu literature have a different stories about his child life. But one thing is very common in every resource, which is relation between peacock and a Chandragupta. And later, this peacock became a national emblem of a Mauryan dynasty. Now, let's talk about his reign. When Chandragupta installed as a new king, at that time India was fragmented into a multiple kingdoms. Greek under the Alexander were also making inroad to the subcontinent. In this time of the battles, Chandragupta established a most remarkable kingdom of Indian history we know. Let's start with the unification of a northern India. After getting the rule of the Magadha, Chandragupta Maurya decided to unify the scattered and divided territories of the northern India. And it was not an easy task to liberate the northwest part from the yoke of the Greeks. He first liberated the Sindh from the yoke of Macedonians. According to the historical resources, at the time of the partition treaty of Tahidrisius, I don't know the correct pronunciation, so I hope you understand. Around the time of 321 BCE, they transferred the governor of Sindh to a northwest, so the post was laying vacant. Chandragupta used a lower Sindh as his base and he conquered the Sindh around 321 BCE. The next is the conquest of the Punjab. Ambi, the king of the Takshila, was a huge supporter of the Alexander. So after the death of the Alexander, he became weak. The great king of Porus was also assassinated by the Greek general Idmus, who later fled himself outside of the India. With all these major obstacles which was removed from the Chandragupta path, he conquered the eastern Punjab. He successfully conquered the land between Jhelum and Indus River, which is testified by the different historians, from the Greeks to the Buddhists to Shastra too. The next most important part is the War of Seleucus Nicator. If you think that Chandragupta's conquering is only focused on natural frontier of India, then you are wrong. He also conquered the territory which is geographically outside the boundary of India. The Seleucid Nicator is a general of Alexander, who became the master of Western Asia after the Alexander's death. He decided to reconquer the Western Asia from Syria to Afghanistan and also decided to reconquer the Indian parts in 305 BCE. So he crossed the Indus River and waged a war on a Chandragupta. Unfortunately, the Indian sources are destroyed, so there is no clear detail about the reign of the Chandragupta Maurya. And even the Greek historian was also silent on this battle detail. But there is a clear mention about the treaty which was signed between them. And if you analyze the treaty thoroughly, you can definitely understand that Seleucus Nicator was defeated miserably. Why? You know that. The first condition is Seleucus renounced the old claim of Alexander Indian provinces, which means that Greek would never came back to India. The second is he gave up all the passes of Hindu Kush and also the third piece, which means Jidrosia and Arcosia, now in the southern Afghanistan and Pakistan, which was the western side of mountain and it was always a part of the old Prussian Empire. And the last is he also gave his daughter as a marriage to a Chandragupta Maurya. And after analyzing these three conditions, it can definitely clear that Seleucus Nicator was defeated. But it is not that he only gave up. He also got two things. First, he got the long-lasting peace between a Mauryan Empire and a Seleucus Nicator. And the second is he got a 500 war elephants, which later helped in the Battle of Ispas in 301 BCE. You can imagine the might of Chandragupta Mauryan Empire, that how powerful and mighty it is. If we thoroughly analyze this condition, these details, we can also get the glimpse of India at that time. Around 300 BCE, Seleucus also sent the ambassador Megasthenes to a Chandragupta Maurya's court too. So, of course, the original work of Megasthenes Indica was not present, but the little fragment of this information was later found in other authors' work. So, we know that the structures of at that time is made up of the woods. He also mentioned that famine was never entered in the India. There is never scarcity of the food, of nourishing food, even in the time of the battles. So you can see that how powerful and how rich our Indian empire is at that time. You can definitely get the glimpse of it. Now the next part is the conquest of the Western India. He expanded his empire further to a Western and a South India. He conquered a Saurashtra and a Kathiawar, and this fact was mentioned in the Girinar rock inscription by a Rudraman. He also annexed the Avanti and the Konkan of Maharashtra. Now the next is the conquest of the southern India. It is very controversial question because the historians like Dr. V. A. Smith suggest that Chandragupta was too preoccupied in unifying the empire in northern India that he doesn't have a time to conquest the southern parts. He said that the conquesting of the southern part is a more like work of his son Bindusar. But this theory was vastly rejected by a modern scholar. They said that Bindusar in the history doesn't know for a major conquest. He was not a conqueror. His reign was mostly known for the stability than the expansion. Stark contrast to his father and his son, the Ashok the Great. So, if Bindusar isn't the conqueror, then who was? The evidence directly points toward the Chandragupta Maurya. One of the most compelling evidence is the Ashok's rock edict. The Edict 3 and Edict 8 clearly mention that the Ashok's empire stretched from the Mysore to the Nellore in the south. And here is the crucial part. Ashok was known for the only one major conquest in his life, the brutal war of Kalinga. So it is clear that the conquest in the south was clearly made by his grandfather Chandragupta. Ancient texts like Kautilya's Arthashastra also mention about the flourishing trade between northern and southern India. Arthashastra is about a political treatise about in the early modern period. And this kind of trade is easily facilitated in a unified empire. Furthermore, the ancient Tamil poets Mamulunar and Prannan also wrote about the Vamba Mauryan or a Mauryan upstarts. They mention that they advanced as far as the Poriyar hills of the Tinnevelli district. These literary evidences places Mauryan Empire as deep as in the south. And the most fascinating piece of the puzzle came from the Zionism tradition. According to this tradition, later in the life, Chandragupta adopted a Jainism. After abdicating his throne, he migrated to a Shravan Belgola into the Mysore and lived his life as ascetic, practicing penance until his death in 298 BCE. And this claim was spotted by archaeological finds too. Three minor rock edicts of Ashoka's time found in a Chittalurg district, which is not far from a Sharvona Belgola. And the presence of these edicts is a powerful indicator that this region was under the Mauryan control. Finally, if you put all the pieces together about the silence of rock edicts on a Bindusar conquest, Asian poets, rock edicts, a geographical reach of Ashok's empire, it's pretty clear that the Chandragupta conquered the pretty vast portion of southern India. Finally, reading all this, we can definitely conclude that Chandragupta's reign was a perfect balance of military prowess and diplomatic ties. Of course, the historical records of Chandragupta's reign was destroyed, and we gathered a bit of information from the different sources. And they are also not reliable because every source gave you a different information. But still, we can gather his uh, powerful image and mighty empire which he established just more at the age of the 21. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the administration of the Chandragupta Maurya and also about the Bindusar and Ashok the Great and how this mighty empire declined. So stay tuned with me to the next episode too. So please like, subscribe my channel to get the further notifications.